And what's going on, guys? Welcome to episode 38 of the Uncommon Line podcast. Specifically, we're back at Triarc for another Pushing the Line episode, part of the series we have with Triarc Systems, which we'll get to in a second. We got Will from Gladiator Gunz, a.k.a. Gladiator 6 on Instagram. But before we do that, we got a little bit of housekeeping on the Uncommon Line side. We've got the FBC donation still going on.
Yes.
So our goal is to raise $5,000 by the end of the month. Guys, first off, what was it, like $2,000 in an hour?
Yeah, man.
2 hours.
That was
I was completely blown away by it. But we still need to keep it going. I think we're sitting at 2,100 something right now.
I thought it was 2150.
Yeah, 2,150, something like that. So we're trying to get to. We have 30 days to do it. We're trying to get to $5,000. We promised them in the episode we did with them in episode 37 that we would do something. I just threw it up there thinking, cool, we'll see. You know, I'm like, we're not gonna. I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's shit. $2,000 in an hour.
Yeah.
So.
Good.
So go check that out. It's in our Instagram profile. And if you don't want to give through us and you don't feel comfortable giving to another person or another company, it doesn't come to us. It goes straight through whatever the gram is and goes straight to their account. But if you don't feel comfortable, just go to firearmspolicycoalition.com, keep up the fight, and donate to them directly.
Yeah. Maybe we can help out with that and maybe brand something or, you know, sell it, give a proceed to it or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
Oh, yeah, dude.
I'm open for it. Let's talk after.
Yeah. I mean, it impacts everybody here. And quite frankly, that cause impacts us as a nation fundamentally, which we talked about. If we attack that fundamental right, what else are they willing to open up the door to?
Yeah.
And companies like, or organizations like them and the foundation, we need to support.
Well, yeah. I'm not even just a side note. It's everybody asks, hey, man, what can I do? What can I do? This is a simple thing. 10, 20 bucks, whatever you got. You slide it their way. They got top dog lawyers taking care of it. Guys who are actually doing the stuff that you're like, man, I don't know what to do. A little bit of money here just to donate to them really helps push a fight. And I think if you feel like in a sense of accomplishment with it. So
Yeah.
it's important. It really is important.
So go check it out, guys. On our Instagram, you'll find a link. I can go back to episode 37, listen to our interview with them. Just go support them. Second note, I got to say thank you to everybody for the shirt sales, for our Not Candy shirt that Mark's wearing. Holy cow. We had a goal and we surpassed it. There we go. I don't know if it's going to be on camera, but hopefully it was. We surpassed the sales on that. Guys, that's going to help us do a lot more. Our goal is to travel a little bit more, do a little bit more stuff for the show. And so just that little bit helped us a lot. We've got some other stuff in store.
Yes.
Camel of Death. That's all we're going to drop right now.
Yeah.
That's all we're going to say right now. And it kind of speaks for itself. But the story, people don't understand. We'll tell later. So that's enough for us, guys. We try not to showcase anything on ourselves. We want to showcase our guests. We're going to bring on Will now. What's up, buddy?
Hey, man. What's going on, fellas?
So introduce yourself for the people that don't know necessarily who you are. Obviously, the people close to Triarc know, but we have a lot of listeners that aren't in the gun industry and aren't necessarily specific to Triarc because everybody's got their faults.
Okay. Yeah.
Shots fired.
I'm Will, owner of Gladiator Gunz Training Group. That's pretty much it, man. I'm just a guy.
And that's the show, guys. So no. So you are based out of San Antonio.
Yeah. So we're in San Antonio on the outskirts in a small area called New Brunswick is where we're based out of. But we travel everywhere, man. Last weekend we were in Michigan. This coming weekend we'll be in Atlanta. 2 weekends after that we'll be in Philly. I mean, we're all over.
That's awesome. So obviously one of the first questions I have for you, just because we talked about, you know, the Firearms Policy Coalition, we'll talk about how y'all meet in a second, but the fight of Second Amendment impacts, specifically you two more so for y'all's career, right? Like it impacts us as officers, right? But directly y'all's career. What are you as a company, besides offering the training, doing to help keep the fight in the industry to keep right to bear arms?
You want to go first?
Well, obviously for us, it's just to, work at full capacity and get as many firearms as we can out the door. I mean, that's our goal, and that's kind of like our part in this whole link in the chain to help support rights is get us product as much as we can out the door. Also to find new avenues on manufacturing to increase production. And that's kind of our back end and what we focus on. It's always like, how much more can we get out and what do we have to do to get more out? And we're in that stage right now, which is great. And then also working with other companies, well, obviously such as you guys and Will, is that they're out there promoting product, which, increases that. And then But Will on his side, he can explain it better. He's on the educational side of it, so he's out there when he teaches and the importance of you have a firearm. Well, here's why it's important to learn how to train, and here's the importance to obviously if you decide to buy more or tell other people.
Yeah, exactly. So for us, our whole goal with our company was to be an asset for whether civilian, whether law enforcement, whether military. We wanted to provide a service that was reasonably priced that everybody had access to. So for us, typically, we get a everyday civilian who comes and they want to take a class. I mean, we have classes level from, the basic everyday, just picked up a firearm today, want to get training, all the way up to we're training SWAT dudes and, some military guys in special units. So for us, we try to make sure that we have something for everybody that's tangible, right? So they can come in and say, hey, I'm new to the firearm, or I've been shooting a little bit, or, hey, my agency wants to train on X, Y, Z, and so on and so forth. So for us, we're just trying to be an asset, man. We're not trying to get rich or any of that crazy stuff. We're just trying to be something everybody can come have access to.
That's a good word, like asset within the industry,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of dead weight that aren't assets.
Yeah.
Exactly, right? Like, so for us, the one thing that I kind of stand behind is the idea for us is everything is a passion over a paycheck for me, right? So we give out way more free spots to single moms, to, women who's been abused and this, that, and the third, have, crazy guys chasing them. Like, we give them out all the time. And then on the flip side, we do that same thing for law enforcement officers. We get agencies who don't want to, support the officer, whatever the case may be. Hey, man, here's a code, here's a card. Come on out, come get free training, right? Because, again, it's going to do two things. It's going to give that officer exposure to something he or she may never have taken before, and then on the back end, they're going to go back and be a conduit for training for their agency to come back and hopefully see us or somebody else in the training industry.
Yeah. So, well said. Obviously, we've talked about it on a couple other episodes, but I'm interested to get your perspective on it. We've seen the influx of gun sales just through the fucking roof, right? Like, it's just astronomical, which is awesome. But obviously, there's a need for training for a person to, right and bear arms responsibly, right? Like, I would encourage anybody, I want you to go get in, but I also want you to be trained. I mean, just so just for your own safety, right? Mm-hmm. Have you seen the influx yourself, obviously, as a company?
So yes, we have. We've seen a large increase of people wanting to come train with us for various reasons. We don't have to. I don't know. We'll probably get into it at some point, but
go, bro.
For the most part, people want to come train with us based off of the Instagram or the cool looking video. But what they fail to realize is the back end before that, all the work that the students put in prior to you get the cool video, right? So for us, again, we get students who come out and we're like, hey, bro, like, let's get you here so we can build that solid foundation. Just like with anything, you have a strong foundation, the rest is going to stay in line. So that's how we do it, man. We put them in the pipeline. Hey, start here, and your end result will get you here. And again, for us, it's not all about, hey, we want to hoard all the training, because there's more than enough people that need to be trained. But we want you to go somewhere where the training is reputable and the instructor is reputable and he or she is teaching. Is not just, a range day. So
yeah. So let's rewind a little bit. Where do you come from as far as, like, obviously good tactician and everything. So clearly you come from something. What was your background in? Law enforcement, military?
Yeah. So I'm retired military, 20 years. My first 10 years, I was an 82nd Airborne Infantry medic. And then my last 10, I was a 82nd Airborne chemical officer. So spent a lot of time in the training department, right? So coordinating training, whether with my unit or with, other units adjacent, whether, here in CONUS or downrange. Retired in 2015, a couple different stints of different type of jobs. And then ultimately ended up where I'm at now at a federal agency where I do instruction for our law enforcement, personal security, and emergency disaster preparedness, continuity of government.
I still don't know what he does. So I mean, what was it?
think
Total
he's- he,
Recon,
like,
Total
he's-
Recon, and he was
yeah.
like, "It's the people you hate." And I'm like, I won't say what agency that is, but
He's like,
and then
in
I was
nice
like,
terms, I'm a spy.
yeah, yeah.
No.
So I'm a shooter. No, dude. So obviously, what's the word as far as like credibility, right? Like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's credibility there, right? Which is lacking in so many instructors, right? Like so many people can just go get an NRA instructor license. Cool.
It's not just credibility; it's professionalism.
Yeah.
I mean, all that experience of just coordination of training and working with other individuals and military units, that's a big part of it. It's not just like on the range instructing. Well, that people don't really understand the whole back end. It comes to, you know, schedule class, plan it, deal with obviously the students. I mean, there's a whole back process to it that has to be handled very well on top of what you do on the range. And that's one thing about Will in the sense of the professionalism. He's on it. Will is always on it, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
And so as we started hanging out and going back and forth, and you know, obviously got some range time together on multiple occasions. It's just like obviously you see it, right? And then going out to one of his classes too, the instruction he's giving, and kind of it's kind of interesting because as he builds the students up, he also starts introducing adversity into it, and because which is great because so many people don't take into account for environmentals when it comes to training. It's always just square range, and this is how you do it.
Yeah, I love that video.
Yeah.
I told Chris I was going to fucking break it. That was awesome.
Yeah.
No, that's good. I like the fact of like introducing diversity. So much training, dude. It's
Yeah.
like even in law enforcement, bro, there's not enough adversity, right?
Yeah.
You know, just the sheer. It was funny. We were out training in our agency recently, and it was just hot as shit. Like it was just scorching. And I'm like, yeah, it sucked, right? But for a lot of people, imagine being on a barricaded person for 5 hours, right? Like suck it up, you know. Like we got to get through it. So it's always good. Thank you. I was wondering how come he hadn't had a drink.
Oh, well, I mean, you know, I saved this for a special occasion because, you know, Will dropped this off for us, and then we looked it up and we realized this is a really fancy bottle of booze, and we just want to crack it open for a typical Tuesday. So, yeah, so it's appropriate, you know.
Yeah.
It's coming down here, spending his time with us and doing the podcast. So I figured we just
So what is it?
crack this open.
So that's a icy cognac. It's got a little history behind it. I'm not as versed in the history as I was when I first bought it. You know, so that bottle was probably 12 years old from the time I bought it. So I don't know how long it sat on the shelf, right? So gave it to Chris. You know, I thought it was fitting once we kind of solidified our partnership with Triarc and Gladiator Gunz Training Group, and he's read the back most recently, so he probably can tell you exactly.
Yeah, we went to the website and everything, how they traveled to Antarctica, and yeah, it's a pretty big story.
So like legitly from Antarctica?
Yes.
Like it's why are you saying it like I'm in trouble? Like yes, that was a stupid
I
question.
mean, I told you to read it earlier.
Oh God, okay.
You're like, yeah, that's cool. It's square.
That's awesome.
Well, yeah, let me get your drink over there, Mark. Pour you a little glass.
So while you're doing that, dude, your phone's going off, Will. He's such a famous person, bro. I keep seeing a flashing light over there, and I'm like,
Got
man,
2 phones.
this is spycraft.
Yeah, man. You know, just somebody always got to be able to.
It's actually code. It's just we're just waiting for the Bearcat to roll up.
I think I kind of know this, just you know, and it's my bad from not necessarily knowing, but sexy family.
No, that was.
No. I'm asking you.
Oh, me.
Yes.
Yeah.
So wife and kids, right?
Yeah, wife and 2 kids, man.
And so, how long have y'all been together?
Oh, I've been married going on 17 years.
Okay, so she's lived through this travel life. It's all she kind of knows.
Yeah, man, and that's always a point of contention, right? So a little bit about my history, like my better half, she was accepted into some highly great programs in the military. It was like, nah, you got to deploy. Nah, you got a PCS. So I had to put it on the back burner. Now I'm kind of living through her. So it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. That's cool. Yeah, priorities. and how many kids?
2, son and a daughter.
How old?
Son's 12. My daughter's 14.
Oh God, I'm not ready. Ready.
They're well versed in the business. I tell people every class, like if your certificate comes out with the wrong name or you get the welcome email and it has a typo, it's their fault because my daughter does the emails, my son does the certificate. So we want to build that.
But really, it's you.
No, really.
No,
it's
okay.
them.
Okay.
No,
I was like, man, damn, she's really
it.
blaming it. He's really blaming
man,
on
They
it.
need to understand business, man.
So something, man, I got to compliment you on, and I don't think it gets complimented on a lot. Yeah, let's cheers.
Cheers.
I didn't get into the Antarctic, but
Yeah, well, I mean, I want to mix that.
something I got to compliment you on, man, and it's really cool. And one of the first things I noticed about your company is diversity.
Yeah.
And I gotta applaud you, bro. And what's so cool is like seeing a lot of the videos that you've put out and watching that, and it's like you look at what's happened in the world, right? Like there's no denying all the bullshit that's fucking happened in the world. and you look at that, and it's something so American of like watching diversified people, and I'm not just talking black and white. I mean,
Right.
every race coming together and seeking training for our Second Amendment, right?
Yeah.
Have you purposely like sought that out, or has that just kind of happened?
So that's a good question, man. And I know, we talked off camera about off limits, on limits, whatever. And
There's no off limits.
so I'm a 100% transparent individual, right? So for me, I think the biggest thing when you talk about the diversity is I don't want to say the problem, but the main component was people that look like you gravitate towards people that look like you, have the same ideas, do things that you like, right? So for me, it was always easy to feel or to have people that look like me, black and brown, to come to my class, right? And so for me, when I talk to them in the class, when we start any class, the first thing I always ask is, why are you here? And then they're like, well, I just want to train with somebody that look like me. Well, that's the wrong answer. Like, that's part of it. But what happens when he or she opens their mouth? If that information is not coming out that is, competent and has some value to you, you're in the wrong location, right? So plenty of people out here look like you or look like me or look like whoever, and they're crap, right?
Yeah.
So can I say crap?
You can
Crap's
say
cool.
fucking shit. I don't
Okay,
care
so
what you
then-
say, dude.
I was like, I'm pretty sure Brad just dropped the F-bomb.
I was
6
like,
times.
bro, like literally, we're never gonna censor our
Right.
guest on here, right?
So they're crap, right? They're just out here just, flying by night, figuring it out, building a plane in flight, which is fine, right? But just know that there are people out here who look like you and may not look like you. They're credible and have valuable information that you want, right? Because I tell everybody, you're not coming to do the cool stuff. You're coming to learn what's between my ears. And if that's not your reason for coming here, you're in the wrong location. Because you don't need me to make you run around and throw dirt or do these things to your firearm. You can do that by yourself, but you want that context, you want that experience that you can't get without, being there or paying for it. So
I think it's unfortunate that, there's a part of me that thinks that's really cool that people are like seeking that, right? No matter what that is, right? Like I wish more people would seek the training, right? And so
Right.
it's like, just get them in the classroom. So at least they're seeing it, right? But does it bother you when somebody says something like that?
it bothers me in the sense that,
They didn't look at you personally?
well, no, but more so that they're just uneducated. They don't know what they don't know, right? So, just like everything else, Instagram is how we advertise, just like most every other company in the 2A industry. So I got to make the cool video to grab your attention. Once we grab your attention, then you want to come do that. Well, our classes are not just instruction. Like, we're teaching, we're talking life skills, like you just mentioned, things like that, right? Like, how does this apply? What is the so what of this to that individual? And if your instructor is not meeting, because you never know who comes to class, right? We get law enforcement dudes, we get military, we get women, men, we get people with disabilities. Last week I had a lady who was missing one eye, right? Like, she's in the class and she wants to learn how to run her gun at night. So, hey, let's show you how to do it. So if your instructor is not talking and making it applicable to every different type of demographic in the class or every skill set in the class, come on, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. My brain just works different. So
No, mine does too. I'm just really dumb. Let's face it. No, like, it's interesting, the diversification of the industry, right? Is like, I hate that it's a thing right now. It just drives me fucking nuts, because at the end of the day, we're fucking American, right?
Yeah.
And that's it. That should be it. Like, there
Right.
should be nothing else. And it's interesting to see, because there's some people that aren't humble enough to go, no, I want them to come because they look like me, and I want them to come into class because they look like me. Well, why?
right.
Like, don't you want them to come because you want, for what's the ulterior motive for a lot of instructors, right?
Yeah.
Have you seen the other side of that?
Yeah, I have. We get instructors, man, who say they want to come to the class to just steal content and all type of shit, right? Like, so you kind of got to just be cautious of it. But for me, again, ultimately, I just want people to come train. And I've been accused of all type of stuff, man. I had a guy one time tell me, you don't train black people. All you train is white people. I'm like, bro, have you seen a Philly class? 26 black students, 1 white student. Like, I have no control who comes to the class. All I have control over is the information that's disseminated to them. I want the information to be timely, credible, and applicable to their lifestyle and what they're doing. And if I'm not doing that, then I'm not doing my job. So I don't care who comes to the class. You could be purple, black, whatever color. As long as you're a 2A gun, legally owned in person, come to the class.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we got something for you.
Yeah. And get ready to have your gun get a little dirty.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
A little dirty.
And if it breaks, come see the guys who guns don't break. No, I'm just saying.
No, dude, that's awesome. You know, it's a weird question. I was like, hey, how do I approach it, right? Like asking the question, because I want people to know that that's who you are, right? Not that's what you are and who you are, and like it doesn't matter,
Right.
Yeah.
right? To me, like, and it's the same thing in leadership and law enforcement, right? It's like, you know, people getting promoted for what's between their ears.
Promoted off potential.
Yeah, you know, I knew of an agency, and I applaud them off air, you know, specifically. But when you applied for a specific unit, you didn't know the officer's name. You didn't know anything else other than what was in the packet. You didn't have a photo. It was just what have they done, right?
Yeah.
And that goes back to credibility and your professionalism, right? And I think, me personally, and I'll ask y'all this: do you think that one of the reasons the industry is so fucking broken? I mean, you know,
Yeah.
I don't want to say segregated in that sense, because I'm just talking like the way it is, the way the industry is, how funky it is. Do you think that is because too many people are going to instructors or individuals that don't have the credibility?
So it's interesting. I was having a conversation about this morning with another friend of mine, and he asked the question, do you think like the community will ever come together and agree on one thing? And I'm like, I don't know. That's a hard thing, because little divisions are taking place, whether we like it or not.
But would you, I mean, don't we want, I mean,
Yeah,
don't
we
we
want to. We should.
I mean, well, what I'm getting at is because what we've talked about on the show, right? And the goal for Pushing the Line and the Uncommon Line podcast is, I guarantee you don't believe what I believe. There's things but cool, we sit down at the table and have a discussion. The thing that I think about the industry is it goes, well, you don't believe it, so fuck you, leave me alone. Well, what's wrong with fucking coming to the table and going, you know, hey, I disagree with that, but let's talk about it. Or address it in two different ways, right?
It's the everybody's an expert, and that kind of stems from narcissism. You know, if you look at a lot of that's the whole crazy thing about training companies and trainers, everything else like that. If you kind of just go to the feed, I mean, some people it's just every like 99% of photos is just them. Like, and I understand there's like a level of promotion because you have to promote yourself and things like that too. But
that's true. When
it comes to a point where, I mean, there's other things you could show what you do other than your face. And I think that whole level of narcissism, because Instagram's so easy to give access to people and things like that, people, they just get lost in it. And that can lead to like the whole thing of everybody's an expert. And people are going to boast up the people they kind of like allegiance to it. You kind of see what I'm saying? Like, people will cling to a brand, which there's nothing wrong with that. But to close off everything else, that's something wrong in my head, because everybody's going to do something a little bit different. Every instructor is going to teach you something different, whether it's good or bad. And I don't know. I just couldn't be so closed off in that sense. But I don't know. I mean, I'm sure you've seen more than I'd have.
I kind of agree with everything you just said, right? Like, there's a ton of dudes, right? And you saw this, right? So I was having this conversation too, about pre-COVID instructors to post-COVID instructors, right? Everybody prior to COVID, when, you know, the firearms purchase boom, what was it, 3-point-something million firearms purchase or whatever the number was, then everybody, oh, I'm a firearms instructor. Like, come on, bro. Like, your level of competence is like way below like what you should be even talking about. But again, that goes back to the untrained, you know, consumer. Like, they don't do the research. They want that, hey, this guy said go train with this guy, or this guy knows this guy, he went with that guy, right? So you get it. And again, I think for me as a company and as an instructor and trainer, teacher, my job is to educate these consumers when they come, you know, we cross paths, whether it's they've come to a class, whether they're not in a class, whether it's just a walk by, whatever. Like, and I tell students all the time, the first thing I ask you is, why are you here? And then you give me that cornball because you look like me because you're black. Okay, next answer, give me another one. That's not enough. That's not enough.
That's not an answer.
You're not making me work as an instructor because I look like you. Like, I need to earn your money. Make me earn your money, right? So that's just kind of how I do it, man. I don't try to play favoritism, play sides. I mean, obviously, favoritism to this right here, right? Like, I mean, my gun speaks for itself. 40,000-ish rounds and 0 malfunctions, right? And it's been a game changer for me. And then again, that's
what happens. Hold on, that's what happens when you don't tinker with a gun.
Yeah.
Like
Fuck off, man.
let the fucking beauty work and
the
don't tinker
expert
with
It's
them.
been a slow build. It's been slow.
Uh,
Everybody calm down.
I like Mark's response. I just tinker with
yeah,
stuff.
I just tinker with stuff.
Dude.
Well, don't tinker with beauty.
Man, just like to see what's going
No,
on.
so let me
I can
ask you
learn,
this, man,
bro.
because it's a question we've asked a couple of guests. As far as this goes, like, what is your why for doing what you're doing?
Whew. All right. So here it is. You probably gonna ostracize me in the field, but no.
I love the fact that he had an answer that quick.
Oh,
I
I
thought you were.
already
I
have
thought
it.
you were about to go. Woo!
No,
I have no fucking clue.
I prepped for this right here. This was the one I was ready for. So here it is,
Get you
right?
a fresh one.
So
Fresh
for me, when I retired from the military, and I was kind of like, doing kind of different things and working different jobs and so on and so forth, I would go to training, and I was paying these astronomical prices for training, right? And I'm like, man, it costs this much for just a one-day class.
In the military.
No, outside the military.
Oh,
Once I
okay.
retired, before I started with the agency I'm with, right? So, classes were just so expensive, right? And then I would go to these classes, and then I would listen and try to absorb information, and I'm just like, okay, I really didn't gain much from this class, right? So, for me, I wanted to create something again that was fairly easily priced, right? The average person can pay for it, and then I wanted the same type of deliverable from the class that I was not getting from these other guys. I was like, hey, let me over deliver on my classes, right? Like, you pay the price for admission, but you're getting so much more. You're getting, quote unquote, an experience, right? So for me, that's what I wanted. I wanted to give back the way I wanted to receive it, and I think I've done that. And we consistently evolve as a company, right? We evolve as a curriculum, so on and so forth. And once we partner with great companies like this right here, Triarc, and I told Triarc from the beginning, like when we finally made it work, I told him, I said, the analogy was, I'm Jay-Z before Def Jam. Triarc is Def Jam. Jay-Z and Def Jam put it together. What happened? Like, they took over the industry, and that's my whole thought
I'm
process.
glad that I picked a Jay-Z song the other day because I was
Yeah,
like struggling. I was like, man, I'm in this like lo-fi phase right now of like lo-fi rap. I don't know what Jess is waving at a fly or waving at Mark. Anyways, so like then I stumbled upon the Jay-Z song. And I was like, fuck yeah, dude, that's an old-fashioned one.
That's kind of what we look at, man.
No, that's good, dude. And that's another thing. Like, there's a lot of people in the industry, and we've talked about it before. Like, there's not a why, right? Like, people don't have a why in their life in general, right? Like, just for everyday life, why they do things.
Yeah.
There's just people that are just going through the status quo, and just are okay with just being common, right?
Yeah.
And don't have a reason to be uncommon and find their why. And I think a lot of times for trainers, and I know we keep reverting back to the training aspect of it, but it goes for anything.
Yeah.
If you don't have a why, how many times do we see companies like that fail?
Right.
Because there's no purpose.
Yeah.
There's just, it's just like going through the motions, right? Mark, anything? I've talked a lot.
No. Dude, I said, man, I like to learn. That's why I'm here. I'm just learning. But
This is
something
dangerous.
that we had talked about was credibility, man. Credibility is huge, and it's something that's extremely overlooked, especially in the industry. And not just in the industry, but I think in all aspects of life, anywhere you go. It's super refreshing when you meet somebody and they say all this stuff, and then you go and you, let's say, train with them, or you go hit the streets and I'm like, this fucker doesn't know. He knows just as much as I do. Or I was like, that was a really why the that was a stupid move. And they give some excuse. For instructors and things that I've learned being an instructor and stuff, and I'm still a very new instructor, but I like to do it, is that credibility is extremely important. But the definition of credibility is what you said. It's purpose and passion that leads to vulnerability. If you have an instructor that is full of purpose and passion over that paycheck, but then is able to be vulnerable with you because they're willing to learn at the same time, then you know that motherfucker's a good instructor and that guy's got credibility.
Well, and we just
It's-
saw,
yeah.
you just went through a class just recently.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of instructors that don't go to instructor courses.
Oh, yeah,
like
yeah.
they think they're an instructor, they have arrived, right?
Yeah.
And so you bring up being vulnerable, right? Like there's something about being an instructor and going to a class, especially if that instructor knows your instructor,
Right.
Because they've got the eye on you of
Yeah.
going, okay, let me see how good this dude is. Yeah. And so there's a thing about instructors being vulnerable and willing to take that risk. What course was that? That was TTPOA course,
That
right?
was the Mike Pannone law enforcement only extreme covert carry course. Yeah.
So do you make it a goal to go to several courses?
I do, man. So for me, like, given kind of access behind the curtain, we talk about a training cycle in our class, right? We talk about how do we build up a training cycle, especially from a civilian or from the student's perspective, right? And we talk about the 4 quarters of the year and how do we implement training into that forecast in our training. So the same thing I'm telling the students in the class, I'm doing the same thing. I'm picking 4 classes per year at a minimum of instructors that have whatever that thing is that I feel I'm lacking, right? Like, wherever the gap in training is for me, I'm finding out the best person who teaches it, and I'm going there, right? So, that's kind of how I did it. Like, recently I did a buck Doyle scope carbine class. Never shot distance like that, right? For me, military, 300, 500 max, right? I'm not a sniper. I'm not engaging way out. But going to his class, I learned how to run a gun at distance. And for that class, I ran my Triarc 13.9, 223 ammunition, 55 grain, and I'm hitting steel at 1,200 yards at an elevation of 8,000
Just imagine if you had a Triarc bolt gun.
Right, like this.
Wow.
Yeah, right.
Bolt gun.
So if that was to ever happen and I'm going back to the class with it, and I'm going to be even more.
2
deadly,
years later.
But no, man, you have to, and that's the thing, right? Will Petty always talks about it. His one of his claim to fame is everybody wants to be an instructor, so you got to do instructor shit, right? So I've taken several classes from him, and I'm like, he has been probably one of the guys that's been, I don't want to say influential directly, but influential as the way we go back and we develop our classes, right? Like, he's a big proponent on curriculum.
And developing it.
Yes.
Not just anybody. Here's what drives me nuts. Anybody can go and take a drill. And look, I'm not going to say that I don't use other drills, because there's drills that are just, great. Like a bill drill, right? Like, a bill drill is such a great foundational drill to kind of find where you're at.
Yeah.
But that's not curriculum.
Yeah.
To me, but there's so many people that look at that and go, that's curriculum, right?
Yeah.
Here's drills. Let's go shoot.
Range day,
right? And that's for anything. Defensive tactics. How can we take a defensive tactics program and make it a program? Like, make curriculum out of it, right? How can we take Gracie survival tactics and go, okay, I like a lot of this. Now I'm going to build a separate program. Right. That's what separates, I truly think, managers and leaders, instructors to teachers, and I think we're failing the industry by just having teachers that just regurgitate what is on the book.
Dude, I said this before, man, is we have lost the meaning of words. You know what I mean? Like, we truly have, like, when someone says you're an instructor or a teacher or a professor or whatever, like, you should understand that there's credibility and power behind that. We just throw it out anything like, oh, but, like, I'm a teacher now. And everybody's like, okay, well, teachers are fucking stupid, It's a whole new push now, like, oh, teachers are pushing this new blah, blah, blah bullshit. Like, no, like, you understand, like, a group of people got together and said, hey, man, it seems like you're the best at this and disseminating this knowledge to us where we can all understand it in a plain language and it makes sense, and we're constantly developing and pushing ourselves forward and doing all this other stuff. Like, there's power in the name of teacher or instructor and stuff. And we lose that. We lose that sense and that purpose, or that purpose behind it. Which, again, man, if fucking passion and purpose over what it is, and it gives meaning and definition and credibility back to the name.
Yeah.
And, like, it drives me, that's one of my big things. It drives me fucking crazy that we lost these meanings to these words, because we throw them out there now, right? Because it's part of, like, oh, well, and it's like, I'm a firearms instructor, blah, 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 blah. Like, I can go get my firearms instructor thing. Do you think I can go run a class with a bunch of dudes?
Yeah,
like,
1
no,
week class,
no,
good
dude.
to go.
I would have no idea what to do. I'd have to, like, go back and redo a bunch of shit, and I'm not. And I was just saying, like, I'm not confident in anything else besides, like, the 5.56 platform and, like, a Glock. Like, you could throw the Tri-11s out here or anything else. Like, I still don't know how those work. SIGs, MPs, taking those apart. I still have to ask guys. I was like, man, I don't know what I'm doing. This is new to me.
He was so nervous about the revolver.
I was like this.
He tinkers.
Yeah.
He tinkers.
Just tinkers.
He's a tinker.
I could tinker this gun apart.
I can tinker the fuck out of this gun.
Dude, I did take apart a shotgun one time. That was my brother's.
And it never
was
went
like
back
$2,000. It never got, it got put back together just the wrong way. But I tried. Like I said, man.
So, Will, let me ask you this: with your kids, it's funny. We had a situation with my son this week. I want him. I don't want to have the curiosity, right?
Right.
And so we were in the room, and he found a BB gun, but my wife goes, hey, this is a good learning lesson. And she was like, don't touch it. So we wanted to treat it like a real gun, right? And it looks like a real gun. And he's only 4 going on 5. And so it was like I took the moment to, he was like looking at it. And he's so curious, right? Because he knows dad has shoot guns and, they're, but I don't want him to be, I want him to have a respect for it, right? But I don't want him to be curious because I know what that's like of like, well, I just got to touch this thing, you know? How did you do it with your kids?
Man, so that's crazy, right? So for me, the evolution for my kids was kind of different than most people, right? Most people say, hey, when your child gets to a certain level of, maturity, you can start introducing firearms into the picture. Well, for me, it was kind of backwards because I wanted to, again, the mind, right? How my mind thinks is, what is the most likely situation my kids will come involved in their lifetime and the way they go about their day every day, which is normally, right, most kids are school. So what is the most susceptible thing that they will be exposed to? Active shooter. So for me, I taught my kids, number one, I taught them to deal with an active shooter. So I taught my kids active shooter response from the individual perspective. So we went through that whole thing and how do they, get out of the building? How do they deal, if they're barricaded
What age
or
did
locked
you
in?
start this at?
My daughter was 9. Yeah, my daughter was 9 and my son was 7. So we started on active shooter from that point, and it was basically because we transitioned from the military. I retired out of Germany, and we came back, and just like most people have an understanding that the military is its own community, right? So schools that they were going to was insulated on posts. They had guards and stuff like that. So the probability of an active shooter was kind of low. But for me, once we came back to stateside and we were at public schools and it was like, hey, what's the, active shooter protocol? We just gonna lock the school down. I'm like, that's not the best idea. So for me, educated my kids on that. And then in conjunction with doing that, like what happens during an active shooter? People get shot, so there's blood. Okay, so let's teach them how to deal with stop the bleed, first aid, right? So I taught my kids those 2 things first. And there's a guy on Instagram, I think his handle is like Jason Demo or something like that. He's a camera photographer guy for like, industry companies. But he did a video at one point where he tossed a tourniquet to his daughter and like squirted ketchup or whatever on his leg. And his daughter might have been maybe 5. And she jumped on that tourniquet, man, and she put it on and she ratcheted it down. Like she got daddy squared away. And that video went viral. And that was what the trigger was for me to introduce the medical portion with the active shooter. So we went through that first. And then once my daughter and my son were competent and capable on that, if you will, platform, right, skill set, then we matriculated into firearms. And so we started them on, I didn't do like a lot of, people start their kids on a 22. Man, I'm not starting them with that. I'm starting with the gun you go and shoot if you pick it up at daddy's house.
The fucking 50 cal.
So
Strapping nods on their fucking head. 31s, just like start clearing, babe.
Listen, man, I want them to, like, because again, you never know, man. Like you can introduce whatever that is, whether it's to a child or a person, that first introduction can be the only introduction you get.
That's true.
So for me, I wanted to make sure if you didn't like it, this is the gun we're going to have in the house. So they picked up, the 9mm platform, which was typically a Glock. And so we started from there. Transition from the pistol, and then we started on the CZ Scorpion, and then we started on the MPX, and then we just grew. And now my son, he'll run a barricade with the best of them, man. 12 years old.
Who was better, the son or daughter?
So medically, I would say my daughter, right? But on the weapon platform, my son, he's just a monster, bro.
That's awesome.
He'll run it.
What does he want to do when he grows up?
He wants to be in the military.
Yeah.
So
what do you think about that?
I think it's cool for now. But again, I just want him to, both of my kids, like I just want them to be great at whatever they do. So if that's the passion they have, like we're going to push them towards it. But yeah.
Where'd you grow up?
So I grew up in Alexandria, Virginia, right outside of D.C.
Was your family military?
My dad was. He was a 82nd Airborne guy, Ranger. He's, my idol. But he was never home. So for me, that was a problem, right? So I grew up fatherless as an adult. 2 younger siblings. Mom worked all the time. So for me, it was just trying to figure out, my way to be a big brother.
So with that being said, was it the military that took him away a lot?
Yeah, it was the military and
So
just his
then
lifestyle.
So then you went into the military.
So I didn't go directly into the
Okay.
military, right? So kind of the way my story originated was I left high school and then I went to college for a year. Not even a year, it was a couple semesters. But, had some family issues between my parents. My dad sought, a house elsewhere. And my mom was like, okay, no problem, go do whatever you're going to do. But that transition made it harder on my mother to take care of my 2 younger siblings. So I dropped out of college, started working at a gas station in a bad part of Augusta, Georgia, where we ended up moving to. Got robbed a couple times, got into some hairy situations as a gas station attendant, and I said, you know what, I'm tired of this. Yeah, I'm tired, right? So I went home and I joined the military to go help take care of my brother and sister. Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
That was not the plan.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. So that's obviously, so first off, we don't typically bring up a ton of religion, but we're believers here, and Christianity is a big thing for us, and sometimes what we have planned is not what he has planned, right?
Right.
So would you, because even though I've made mistakes and didn't have stuff planned and stuff happens, I don't think I would necessarily change things. So would you change things to be where you are today? Are you thankful for some of the stuff you've gone through to be able to be the person you are today?
Yeah. I don't think the people we all are sitting at this table, right? You change any one thing in your history, you're not where you are right now, right? So I'm fine with where I'm at, but, just like, 1,000 million other people, right? They had it hard growing up. It was rough. It was rough. It gave me perspective on everything, moving forward. How do I operate my company? How do I treat people? How do I act? How do I carry myself? Like, all these different things came out of these, small, struggles that we have as teenagers, kids growing up. And it makes us who we are, right? So I wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of people that'd be like, yeah, change it all. And I'm like, yeah, but you aren't sitting. I mean, think about where you are. I mean, yeah, I wish I was on a yacht right now, but I'm like, I wouldn't change where I am right now.
Right.
Like, I'm thankful for where I'm at in life. Ups and downs, tribulations, like it's still like, I'd rather be sitting where I'm at than where I could be,
right,
or dead,
right.
Well, the ups and downs definitely, they change you, right? And so when you sit, and I can relate to what you're saying right now, because you can think about the downs, but then again, though, I'm thankful for where I'm at right now, because you learn so much, and as you go through all these different struggles, stronger, smarter, and a little bit more able to catch yourself, so you don't revert back to the bad.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
to speak.
and talking about it, I mean, our careers, college, stuff that's definitely happened with me in my career, and it's a discussion for another day. But I wouldn't change that, because the officer I am today, I'm light years ahead of a lot of other officers in the tenure, and the same thing goes for us as individuals, right? I think too many people I'm all for, I don't want to live in the past, right? I want to live in the present or moving forward, right? But I think there's too many people that tend to forget that, and that don't use that as momentum, right?
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of times if you forget where you come from, or you forget that, you lose the momentum.
Yeah.
And vice versa, quite frankly. I mean, it's a double-edged knife,
And so there's this thing I always tell people, right? Like, people always kind of going on the lines of what you're just saying about the past, and I'm from here, I'm from there. Listen, your past does not dictate your present or your future, right? Like, there's a guy, Tyler Jamal. He's on Instagram. Go follow him, Tyler Jamal. He has a story. He wrote a book about it. I don't want to give it all away, but his life was quickly taken away from him at a very young age, as far as his future, not his actual life living, but his life of what he could have been. At 13, he was charged with murder, right? So he went through the whole system. He came out on the other side, thankfully. But if you talk to him, man, the stuff he went through, he's just like, wow, man, you went through all of that, and you still have, number one, he still respects the law. He still, it didn't change him, as far as he could have been a bad guy, bad apple on the backside. But
you would think it would make in situations and I have heard about him.
Right.
You would think that in situations like his and countless others, you would think there would be this hate for law enforcement, this hate for authority. And to me, that's what separates the common from the uncommon, right? Which goes back to the name of the show. It's easy to hate and forget and don't live there, right? But it's more respectful to realize and move forward and adapt for that, right? Yeah, I think, and you said it, stronger. You know, it makes people stronger in the sense, you know, because adversity. You talk about adversity in training and everything. It makes you a better. The outcome. If you have training where I just sit there and fire 3 rounds at the target, I mean, what? How am I being better?
Yeah, just being static and mag changing. It's just like, come on. You know, like I said, I understand it's like a good thing to learn, but to never incorporate or just even touch on the whole factor of environment, because you might not be able to stand.
Right.
Yeah.
Or you might not be in a position you might be able to stand. So that's like, so many people just want to have that image and fast and everything. And it's just like, bro, I don't know.
Or people want, I mean, and I even remember this in the academy. She can attest, we were in the academy together. Like,
wait, you guys went to the academy together?
Yeah.
What? I think you should do a podcast on the story.
No, we'll leave that one alone.
Oh man, I'm sure there's like fist fights and stuff.
No,
you know?
so
Brad got his butt kicked.
I don't even know what I was gonna fucking say now, asshole.
It's because you got your ass kicked. That's why you're like, damn, I got my ass
I
kicked.
let my ass get kicked. Anyways,
But
anyways, what was I gonna say with this? I forget what it was.
don't worry about it. I got you. Here you go.
Yeah.
So piggybacking on what you guys both said, so that's kind of the genesis of where our company motto comes from, right? So our company's motto is discomfort is the breeding ground for confidence, right? So you can take that and apply it to everything. For me, it started when I was a kid, right? Like my dad being gone, my mom working, I'm having to provide, having to go do other stuff before I was this upstanding citizen that I am now to be able to help take care of my family, right? So that adversity, again, you just take it and you use it like you talked about, use it as motivation. So then move forward into the company. Like, how do we do that? And kind of what Chris was just saying and you were just saying about not being static on everything. So if we can make your worst training experience on the range that much more in-depth, more, uncontrollable variables, this, that, and the third, the time it comes when you actually have to defend yourself, others, or, protection of, civilians, whatever the case may be, it'll be that much more easier and comfortable for you because you've been down this road of adversity so crazy.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how we look at it.
Well, and what I was going to say, going back to in the academy, like being a new officer, I wanted everything to be black and white, right? I wanted there to be an answer. Something I've learned, like most of the time there's not a fucking answer. Most of the time it's completely gray. And the same thing goes for everything in general, especially right now in our nation. There's no black and white in regards to that. And in training, I don't want there to be black and white, right? If I have an instructor or an individual or a teacher or a professor, whatever it may be, equate it to whatever you want, that says the answer is this. The answer is always that. I'm out, right? Because clearly then their credibility's fucked up. They haven't been there. They're not speaking the truth. They're speaking off a textbook. And instead of going, the instructor goes, okay, yeah, but this, or this. Mm-hmm. There may be this, or this. Or, hey, do this. Did you see what just happened? I didn't even know that was going to happen, right? And that's what I think we're so afraid, and I'll get into our nation. We're so afraid as a nation to face adversity. We think we're facing adversity right now when we're really not. Right. Would you tend to agree with that?
Yeah.
I mean, as a whole.
No, that's not the thing. It's all the adversity is constructed. Or they're making people think. Well, they're making people think they're going through some type of adversity, but it's not.
But there's actually not
there's
adversity.
No adversity.
Right?
That's
y'all been to third world countries.
That's
You've
adversity.
Seen adversity.
Yeah, that's adversity.
Right?
But
even the stuff we're seeing doesn't make what's happening sometimes right, but it's not truly adversity.
Okay, but that's the whole thing. Why do people buy into it? That's the weird thing about it. It's like, this is all weird to me, because there's nothing bad going on, but people will latch onto it so hard. Like, they literally think something bad's happened to them, where they're crying, or they're so vocal about it, or like really drop into the ground. Why do people buy into it? Why do they suck it in? Like, I don't know. That's the one thing I can't really figure out is.
I can answer that.
Yeah, please do.
Hey,
Is it? Wait. It's not meth, is it?
Nah, dude.
Okay.
We were talking about that earlier. Don't fucking do meth.
I'm thinking about doing meth.
Don't do
but
meth.
Mark's talking
Don't
me
do
out
meth.
of it.
Fucking do
You're
it.
talking me out of it too?
Yeah,
No.
stick
You're
to
talking me
weed.
out of it?
Don't do it, man.
I mean, you guys.
One, I think it gives people purpose, like we were talking about. Two, and then another one.
What gives people purpose? Not facing adversity?
Yeah, it gives you purpose. Like, hey, this is like, oh, I'm a victim for this. And then the caveats up often is like, it holds you accountable. People don't like to be held accountable for their actions. But a truly wise and diverse individual is accountable for their own actions. And they're constantly accountable for their actions because they're vulnerable about it. And they're vulnerable about who they are, and they know that they make mistakes. It's the same thing on the what we're talking about in the training environment and stuff always being gray. You know, my belief is a good instructor, I want you to use your mind, right? It's not how fast you can shoot. It's not how hard you can punch. It's not how good you look, but it's how critically you can use your mind in that situation. We've gone away from using discernment and wisdom in everything that we do, and it's true. And I've preached that, but there was a time where I finally learned that situation where it's like, hey man, the stacks might be up against you, and you're just gonna have to learn to figure it out. And I've done it plenty of times. I just made shit happen on streets or on the call. But the time I actually really truly understood that lesson and like really being flustered and like having to just be like accept it and like fuck it, dude, I'm at an edge here, is we were at a barricade person and I forgot my actual SWAT kit. So it turned into like a SWAT deal, and I forgot my kit and I started getting super fucking flustered. And I had a sergeant on scene with me just say, hey dude, don't fucking worry about it. Make do with what you have and fucking push through. Right? And there was probably like 5 minutes.
He was just wearing a T-shirt.
Yeah. No,
I would have told you to sit in the Bearcat, bro.
Damn.
I had a vest on and stuff, but it wasn't like, I just felt naked, you know what I mean? Because I didn't have my equipment. Like, I wasn't prepared for that situation.
You have 8 mags on you?
Yeah, I didn't have any of that shit. I don't carry 8
His
mags
upside down mag, I don't understand it.
Dude, my side, no, wait.
He's tinkering. Dude, let him tinker, bro. Let him tinker.
Back off, bro.
Anyways, go ahead.
But anyways, in that moment, I was like, for like literally 5 minutes, man, I was fucking flustered. And then I just accepted the fact that, hey, I don't have this. You're going to have to still do your job. Right. And that was it. And
right on.
And in that moment was the first time I ever really learned, like, fuck, dude, like, you're just going to have to push through and figure something out.
Yeah,
right?
well,
Because you had security there. It's always was there, and now it's no longer there, and you're taken away. And I felt so naked. I was like, it wasn't like, I just felt like everybody's going to laugh at me. I'm going to get in trouble. I'm going to do this. How can I be so stupid? All this other shit.
They did laugh at you. Yeah. You did get in trouble.
Well, I did.
That was stupid, but
anyways, we figured it all out, and you know.
But I think that's but it's
a lesson,
truth,
dude.
because like I mean, you go back to like, and I'll equate it to what I know as police work. Like I remember my corporal, and dude, I don't even think you had it. MapsGo.
No.
You know what MapsGo was? So I couldn't use GPS. Like it was northeast, south, or west, and it was like MapsGo page 95, and it was 92F, right? So the corporal would be like, where's the call? I'm like, I don't know, sir. And I'd be scrolling through the paper, and I'm like, okay, that box is 92F, okay? Because the dispatcher would say, hey, the address is such and such 92F. And so then it goes, you start thinking about that, and I appreciate that now because I'm better at directions than I was. So having that adversity. But then you start thinking about, dude, when the people had to do this job or in the military, and I bitch about my radio going down, when they had to stop at pay phones and put a quarter in to call dispatch and find out what call was coming next. We don't have that anymore. Everything's so easy.
Yeah.
There's a cop-out for everything, that there's nobody's facing any adversity. And you're right. The adversity we face is, I think, what do you call it? Like made up.
It's false. It's just like,
are we right or are we wrong? Like, do you agree with that?
So it's also perspective, right? So that was the thing I had to understand, right? So when I retired from the military, 2015, and I started working in the private sector and government sector, it'd be times we'd have, the agency will say, hey, we have a, safe to speak or whatever discussion. And they, go around the room and everybody, you have these people who have these big brains, and they're like, oh, well, my chair doesn't go up and down all the way, and, whatever, right? And then they'd be like, well, Will, what do you think? And I'd be like, listen, bro, nobody's shooting at me. I don't really care. Like, I'm fine. Whatever it is, you tell me to do it, I'll do it, right? So, but then I got to the point where I was getting mad at, the things they were saying. I'm like, are you serious? Like, you're mad because your printer's out of ink? Like, go call somebody. They'll do it. But then I look back and I'm like, well, to them, that might be a life-changing, life-altering event, where to me, that's just like, man, figure it out. Like, don't bring a problem to me without an answer, right? But it's all perspective, man. If
that's a much
these
better
people
answer.
have never been,
now I feel dumb for the answer I gave.
It's a perspective. That's how I look at it. Because I can't expect a civilian that's never jumped out of a plane, right? That's never been shot at, that's never done any of these things. I can't expect them to relate to what I'm talking about.
I know, but it sounds like a military thing, because even adversity growing up. I mean, come on.
Go there too. I mean, you've never been punched in the face, right?
I mean, dude. I remember asking that question.
Steal your school clothes.
I remember that question. How many of y'all have ever been in a fight and nobody raises their hand?
Starter.
Yeah, like I don't know how many starter jackets I lost because somebody took them from me, right? Like,
damn, bro.
Yeah.
San Antonio Spurs. I remember my puffy starter San Antonio Spurs jacket.
Yeah.
The pink
Someone
and blue.
take it from you?
Huh?
Can you wear it? Can you wear it next time so we can take it from you?
It won't fit.
Damn.
Here in Asheville. Adversity.
Yeah, man.
Hashtag adversity. No, dude, that's true perspective and way to make me feel like a complete dick for bringing it up like that way. But it's
sorry.
true. Like, perspective is a thing. And so but, there's some things like we talk about. I mean, I can go there. Defund the police and the police movement right now and where we're at as far as race goes in the nation. And look, I'm 100% believe there needs to be reform in police. There are some agencies that are completely fucked to the core, and there needs to be reform. And what do I go back to? What training?
Yeah.
Like our officers are not trained enough. Well, the same thing goes for the general public, right? I truly think there's not enough training for the general public on so many different levels, right? And so what are we doing in the industry to help people get there to better themselves as individuals?
Okay, so what's the answer when you're sitting there saying training, right? So if training's too hard, and I can't, I've heard this multiple times, right?
It's
But
not too hard.
But here's the thing, though. But they're lowering the standards now, and people are pissed. So that's the whole thing. It's just like, okay, you're saying it's training, but then people can't make the current training now, so they're lowering the standards. So what's the right answer?
And then we wonder why somebody shoots somebody.
Yeah.
Like we've had an officer that has never been in a force-on-force situation. I don't care if it's blue gun force-on-force. Like, put them on force-on-force. There's no excuse, right? But yeah, no, I see your point. I just that's the problem, right? But that's a problem across the board. What happens is we face adversity, and then what do? Yeah, it's hyped up for a little bit, but then there's no change that happens. Like, we just go back to a status quo. Well, how is that right?
It ain't.
Yeah, good answer.
It ain't right.
Yeah.
It ain't.
So on that note, one of the reasons I bring that up is I think, and it sucks that it falls on y'all as training companies, but I'm appreciative for companies that go, okay, like I think you said it on you were on a live recently, and like somebody was talking about like you don't have an excuse, I'll pay for it or something, like you come and pay, come in for free. Like that's so true. TTPOA is doing it.
Yeah.
We have all these organizations that are going, look, we want the change to happen for you. Like stop using excuses, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, you've got to make money as a company.
Yeah.
Anyways, what are your thoughts on, as far as that goes?
So that's funny. So I was flying back this past weekend, and
It was a gym story you were talking about, the dude in the gym.
oh
Yeah,
the
that one.
the
Yeah.
two officers. Yeah.
And I was really annoyed by them. I was like, just go fucking train. But anyway,
That's what I say too.
Yeah.
So, but it happened again. I was flying back this weekend from Michigan, and I was standing waiting on my bags and my guns, and so TSA came. They cut my locks, whatever, and put some new locks on. So I was like, hey, I need y'all to cut these locks off so I can leave the airport, so I can take my gun. My concealed carry is in here too. So one of the airport police comes up, and he comes over, and we start having a discussion. And I'm like, hey, man, here's one of my business cards. This is what we do, XYZ. And he's like, oh, yeah, I don't know. I don't have time. I'm like, bro, like, what do you mean you don't have time? So then that just opens the door for the whole conversation. And again, I always take it back to, don't use money as an excuse, right? Like, if you can't afford it or your agency won't pay for it, come on, we'll comp you, right? Because I know you're going to get something out of it, whether it's, you're going to learn how to, run your gun through adversity, or you're just going to build that level of confidence in your skill set that you probably didn't have prior. But you're going to learn when you come to our class. And then you're going to go back and you're going to tell your fellow officers, hey, man, I went to XYZ's class. We need to go again. And that's kind of what happened, how we got to where we're at with, like, local law enforcement that we work with, like San Antonio PD. We work with them and the SWAT guys. Like, it was all word of mouth. Their instructors came out, took a class. We comped them the class to get you to come out. And then now, we'll be teaching the TTPOA. We were supposed to teach December 6th, but something else has come up. So we'll probably be early
Spy
2022.
Spy stuff.
TTPOA, we'll be teaching out there. So, we're there. We're teaching at the Academy in San Antonio. So, guys just got to seek training, right? Like, and I tell, the best way I can put it is, if you want to do something, you're going to do it, right? You need to budget for it. You don't just up and say, hey, you know what? It's our 5th year anniversary. We're going to go to, wherever, Cozumel, Mexico. You say, hey, babe, what are we going to do? And she says, babe, we're going to do this. And then you say, okay, we're going to pay. And then you start budgeting for it. Same thing for training. Pick your classes that you want to go through the rest of the year, whether law enforcement or civilian, and budget for them. there should be no excuse. Oh, ammo's too hot. Well, when you wait to the last minute, it is.
Okay, how about this? Next guy you comp, and if they give the ammo excuse, let me know, and then we'll comp the ammo. So there'll be no excuse.
There you have it.
And then with that guy, I'll give him a sticker.
Right.
Sticker.
So like, let's
sticker
I
on the
mean,
podcast.
there's no excuse, man.
I've got no money and no ammo.
No, but I would love to get to a place as a show, and that's one reason. Like, we don't launch the shirts right now to be rich, right? Like, we've got jobs. Like, we're trying to do more stuff. And what do we say? What do we say from the beginning? My goal is to give back, right? Give back to FPC. My goal I would love every quarter sponsor 5 students to go to these courses and these guys that we interview and stuff. That's the place I want to get because I know there's such a need for that. And I'm not just talking law enforcement, about just individuals that want to be trained.
Yeah.
One of my doctors, I was just recently talking to him. Every single time I come in, he's just like, what do they call them? Holster sniffers, right? Just like total holster sniffer, right? But I love it because every time I give him the opportunity, he wants to go buy his first gun.
Yeah.
I gave him the discount code.
Oh, you did?
His nurse
Nice.
wrote it down. The UCL. Anyways. And I told him, I said, bro, but go get trained. Like, go seek some training. And so it leads into my question for you in regards to this, because I'm torn when it comes to this, right? I believe it's a fundamental right, the Second Amendment, right? I'm torn on the permits and the licenses and all this because I'm like, but it's fundamental, and so it's our right. So why should I have to? I don't necessarily want to require training, but there's a part of me that goes, there should be some requirement.
Right. I'm with you.
So how do you feel as an instructor on that? I know I kind of know where you're going to go with. I mean, I assume you want everybody to seek the training, but fundamentally,
right,
like in our Constitution.
So that's 2-part question, right? If you're asking me as far as constitutionally, do I think they should be able to do it? Yes. Right. So we got that part out of the way.
Right.
But now in the real grand scheme of things, you don't just hand a person who's never driven a race car the keys to a Formula One car and say, go drive around the racetrack, right? Like, you don't. You say, hey, let's go to driving school. Let's teach you how to drive. Now you kind of got the idea, and let's slowly build you into it. Why should it be anything different with the firearm, right? I get it. Like, it's our constitutional right. You should have it. You can have it. You can own it. You can carry whatever. But in the grand scheme, there has to be a level of competency and expectation from the person carrying a gun. Like, you can't just, again, you talk about officers who need training. They get whatever, how many hours they get a year for in-service and so on and so forth. Then actual firearms on the range, whatever that number looks like, and they still have accidental shootings, right? Mistake of fact shootings. Now you're going to give me a gun for somebody who's never had any training. You're going to tell them you don't need to get any training, just carry your gun. And the ownership should be on that individual, right? You don't want to just carry something or have something because you can. Okay, yeah, I do. But now what's the next evolution? And nobody's saying you got to go get, level 50 pistol, whatever. Just get the fundamentals, right?
Do you teach level 50?
Yeah, I would love
2025.
2025 level 50. Put me down on that class.
Yeah, right? Like, all you need is just to get the bare minimum. And then from there, if you want to get more, then get it. But I think personally, and there's probably a lot of people that's going to disagree, I think you should be required to take a basic firearms class. And not just because again, with Texas, they don't teach you how to shoot when you get your concealed carry. They just say, here's the laws for 8 hours. All right, go shoot. And then you see people's, target at the end of the qual,
God.
and you're like, bro, like, you're going to walk out of here and be able to carry this gun.
I literally wanted, so I took it. I remember I took it with my dad. I love you, Dad, but I took it with my dad, and just the Puerto Rican doctor he is, and just like hadn't held a gun probably since. I mean, he has. And I'm sorry, Dad, I'm not dogging on you, but I looked at this target and I go, dear Lord,
Right.
Jesus Christ, and there's so many times but here's the deal, and it's unfortunate, but we see it in law enforcement. We see it in service. You go, oh my God, Mr. Shaky's over there. Can't even freaking pull up the gun, to shoot. But at least there's the requirement,
Right.
And I'm glad you said that, because I tend to agree, but I'm like torn, right? Because it's just like, man, it's a right. It's the same thing with like we had the discussion recently on parolees, and having guns. There's a part of me that goes, yeah, they shouldn't. They committed felonies, but then there's a part of me that goes, there's some felonies that aren't as bad as others, and I hate to say that, And then
they did their time, though. Didn't they
exactly.
pay their debt to society?
And then the Constitution doesn't specify between the two, and it's just like, so it's like it's an interesting thing, because the Second Amendment to me is so fundamental, like free speech, religion, and everything that. But at the same time, then we want to tinker on these little things,
I mean, talk about training, right? Like, so I was teaching at our basic academy yesterday, and we had a bunch of officers, and I go around the room because I want to connect with these officers, where they came from with their ideas, and again, why are you here? Why are you taking, why do you want to be a police officer? What was your background? And I mean, just a couple of the backgrounds that I got from some of these officers, I was like, holy shit, like, this is what you want to do now? Like, one guy was like, oh, yeah, I was a finance manager at, such and such bank. And I'm like, you coming to be a police officer? Like, well, why? He's like, because all my buddies are doing it. That was his reply. And I was like,
Tight.
I was like,
Good job, bro. Found it.
I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Like, because they're doing it, did you even think about the ramifications and all this stuff?
He
that's
looks
going
over
on in
his
the
buddy.
world?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, yeah, but, I kind of always wanted to do it too. I was like, okay. Another person, I was like, what were you doing before you came to the academy? And she was like, well, I worked at a place. And I was like, what does that mean? She was like, well, Mr. Jackson, I probably can't say it. I was like, oh, I'm tracking. Now you want to be a cop?
Walmart?
Like,
Stripper?
ding, ding.
Walmart?
Yeah.
CBS?
So I'm like, so now you want to be a police officer, law enforcement? She's like, yeah. This is the only job that was available right now with COVID. I was like, okay. And this is the mentality that people are coming with, and then you
See,
take
and I
that
don't know how I feel
mentality-
about it, bro.
I
Like-
don't like it, right? But you take that and then now add on top of that again, just like with everything, there's good and bad, whatever thing you do, right? But again, I'm a proponent of, this is just Will speaking, not the company, not Triarc, but Will saying, if you're gonna be of public service, you have to be in some type of capacity to be able to care for the public. And if your mentality is, I carry a gun only 9 to 5 or whatever my shift is, after that I'm not a police officer, then you're probably in the wrong business. Right?
Yeah.
Like, you're a police officer 24 hours a day. I was a soldier 24 hours a day, 380 days a year. I don't even know if they got that many. But that's the mindset you have to have. You want to be the best professional at whatever that public service is. And you get people that's not, and it's unfortunate.
So
man.
so let me ask you this. With where you came from and your background and everything, it's really a question to both of y'all. And I think I've asked you this one before, so this is a good one for the pushing the line. But
Okay.
do you believe service is a calling?
What do you mean is a calling? Like, just kind of instilled into you, or?
It's your destiny.
Yeah, your destiny, like your purpose. You were meant to do this job. Do you believe,
Yeah.
like for me, I knew this is what I wanted to do, right? Like, this is a calling, and there's passion behind it, right? I'm not saying there can't be people that join the force and maybe they were a stripper and then all of a sudden this is what I was meant to be, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I'm talking like, do you believe that, it was a calling?
I think it's built in some people, as far as when it comes to people who want to protect or defend or, take care of, right? So when it comes to family, like if you're a protector or a nurturer or things like that, well, yeah, something like that we're calling service is kind of natural in the sense because you're doing it on a greater scale. Protecting your family, you want to take care of your family, just like, Will said, it's kind of, him and I have very similar backgrounds in a sense of why we joined the military, but like you said before, he went in the military, he was taking care of his siblings. I did the same thing. We were talking at dinner where, first year I had allotments going to my mom and grandmother just to pay them back in a sense, or give them money to help out back home.
Right.
And so there's still like a need to
But
protect.
to me, that's a calling.
Yeah, it is a calling. It's kind of built into you, and just kind of like values how you grew up with, respect, taking care of your family, the loyalty when it comes to the family, all that stuff is just kind of built into you.
For me, it wasn't a calling. It was necessity, right?
Yeah.
Like, again,
Well,
I'm not
there's a
gonna talk
little
about-
bit. There was a little bit of calling because I understand what you're saying, necessity, because I was poor as fuck.
yeah,
So part of that, yeah, there was money. Well,
It was poor as fuck.
No, but if you look at it though, but look at it in this stance, right? Like, if you can have income, you can help out. And
Right.
see, that was kind of like a driven to me because, well, why did I need money? Well, not just for myself, because I don't know what I was going to do with it. I was terrible with money.
I think
Right.
it's what
But-
you define as a calling. Like, what is a calling to each individual person?
That's
right?
That's a good way, right
Like
there.
the way that I looked at it, and I say that for some, I think it's a calling, and what I mean by that is, it was a calling in the sense of like there was something pulling at you to do it. Right, for you, it was just to provide.
the force and function for me was to provide.
Provide.
Right? Like, my transition into the military was not easy. Like, I had somewhere in the neighborhood of like 16 positive matches for crimes, right? Like, so my father's person that he wanted to be with at the time, other than my mom, was a recruiter, like station manager, whatever. So they got me in the military. Like, I couldn't even get in. So for me, it was either that or I was going to go back to doing whatever I needed to do to help put food in the refrigerator.
But my thing is, though, like, you wouldn't have done 20 years if it wasn't a calling, right?
So the way the military works is once you get in, so I had no intention of 20. I was doing 6. My first enlistment was 6. I did my 6, and I was getting ready to get out. But just like with everything, right, you know, Uncle Suge, he takes over. Hey, you know what? You can go buy this car. We'll give you this loan and give you 19% interest, but you can get this. And for me, it was a Denali. So I bought a Yukon Denali, and I was like, hey, I'm going to get out. And it was like, that payment, I can't afford that, right? Like, so I was, in essence, for me, I was trapped in that lifestyle that I created. So I had to figure it out. So at that point, at my 6-year mark, is when I said, you know what? Then it turned to a calling. Like, okay, I'm going to be the best that I can be at this, right? Like, how do I get better? How do I separate myself from the knuckleheads that I was going out with, getting into all these different stuff? And from there, that's when I turned it into a profession.
I just wonder, dude, like, you know, on a not a fundamental level, but like on a lower level, like because there's people that join this career, I got the gun and the badge. Fuck those guys, right? Or people that join the military, I just want to go kill people, right?
Right.
You know, I think that for the overall majority, no matter what it may look like, there's a tug, there's a calling that we're meant to be, right? Something of that sense, right? Because to me, like, if you just done 6 years, got out, and gone back to, you know, doing the shit you were doing, that's not a calling, right?
Right.
But the fact that you went there, did that, and now you're sitting here is a sort of a calling, right? I mean, does that make sense?
It's destiny.
Destiny, yeah.
Destiny.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree, but I think we're saying the same thing, just different, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I think ultimately it comes down to this: is everybody has a choice.
Yeah.
I 100% believe that there's a time in somebody's life that could be different. Whenever you reach that emotional maturity, where you go, I can go down 2 roads. Like, I can make something of myself, or I cannot. And I think that's probably one of the most simplest things in our life that it boils down to. It's like, I made this choice, right? And then when the shit gets bad or anything else, and you're down on yourself, and you're having a couple shitty days, there's a thought process that goes like, man, fuck, dude, I made that choice. I can't go back, right? Versus if you make the other choice, it doesn't matter. It's like, well, I'm having a shitty day, and then all this other bullshit falls into it. But everybody has a choice.
Yeah.
They do. And I think
and what I'm getting
that
at,
choice can be made at any time.
what I'm getting at with the point of the calling of this, like, I think we're losing people that are meant to be in these careers.
agree.
Now
I'm with you.
Whatever career. I'm not just talking law enforcement, military training. I think we as a society, I mean, God, even now, so like creating a culture of people that don't want to work, but that are doing things just for the ulterior motives of the wrong reasons, right? Like, yours, I wouldn't have considered a wrong reason. Like, that was a good you had a reason, right? I think there's people that are just doing things just to do them.
Yeah.
Right?
They're just keeping a job to keep the Wi-Fi on.
I mean, that is important, bro.
Uber Eats and Wi-Fi.
Yeah, Uber Eats.
That's all I need to survive. How do I keep that going?
Very expensive.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Oh.
Hand signals.
Damn.
So, yeah,
what
dude.
does the middle finger hand signal mean?
That's just,
Oh,
that's what's happening later. That's your sister. Anyways. No, that's interesting, man. I think that was one of the questions I wanted to ask you is like the background. I didn't know everything, and I still.
Oh, it's a lot more. I mean, obviously.
Yeah. But I think it's awesome that, like 4 people can come together. This is what I mean by the show, dude, of like bringing people together, like they come from total different walks that can kind of like cut from different cloths, think different things. Yeah. But overall, like, it just changed the industry.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Changed the culture.
That's the best way, but just it's set an example, just like you're doing right now. You set an example, bringing everybody to the table, having the conversation. Stuff is aligned. Not everything's aligned, but it doesn't matter, because we're all here. sharing a bottle of cognac from like Antarctica or something
Dude,
like
this
that.
is very dangerous.
I
bro.
know. I've been like sipping on this thing, and I'm gonna tell you right now, I've never had cognac before.
Yeah.
This stuff.
I thought we were supposed to like light the side of a little glass and like swish it around.
And so check this out, right? Like, so the relationship with, because people always ask, well, how'd you get with Triarc? It was organic, right? Like, I didn't come to him. He didn't come to me. It just happened, right? Like, I guess, I don't know, Triarc was watching, and I've always been a fan of Triarc. I bought my first rifle. I paid for full price, and don't get no discount, none of that shit. Like, I paid because I heard that they were, solid weapon systems. After that, the gun it'll run itself, right? And my videos prove that.
If you don't tinker with it.
If you don't tinker with it. So,
I'm gonna teach Mark how to be
Tinker.
the ultimate tinker.
Tinker. Yeah, go ahead.
And sitting down, right? Like when we had one of the classes recently, a couple months ago, and just having discussion over dinner with Chris, like you just talked about being cut from the same cloth and similar backgrounds. Like we have very similar backgrounds, very similar cloth, as in the sense that we were in the 82nd. They got Ardennes, right? Like it's the main. Like we were across the street in the same unit. Well, probably maybe I was in 2505. You were in,
First 05. Yeah, we're right across the parking lot.
Like we were across the street from each other. We probably were on the same plane at some point, jumping out of the plane together. Like, and come back full circle. And our ideas align as a company. Our ideas align as the business owners and all of that. And it just made for an organic relationship. Like I didn't have to try. I don't think he had to try to make it make sense for us. And so that's why we're with them.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And that's just so cool because like he knows everything in the sense of like growing up in those years and growing up in that environment. Same thing with me. It's just like, dude, holy crap, you're what years? And she's just like, holy shit. Yeah. We're probably the same shit.
Seems like everybody that I surround like with you is airborne. I feel like we've had a lot of airborne guys.
No, we haven't had a lot of airborne guys, man.
Yeah.
It's a small world. You all know each other.
Not really. We just know what it looks like to like just hate life sometimes.
The plane's not that big, man.
The plane's that
can only
big.
fit so many people on it.
Yeah, and then like it's just like completely inefficient because it's like, oh, TOT's at 1 a.m. Okay, when's pre-jump?
Oh,
Or
yeah.
it's like, what? Oh,
Would you
2?
jump-
Okay, cool.
Have you jumped out of an airplane since you left the military?
Fuck no.
That's what I'm saying.
I used to be 6'4", bro.
Really?
Yeah, no.
That's
But I'm sure I lost some height jumping out of planes,
like,
man.
nah, I don't want to do that shit. I was like,
Yeah.
Oh man, it's different.
Would
It's
you do
completely
it
different
now?
breed. Fuck no, it's
So
completely
like
different.
if the Uncommon Line wanted to go jump out of a plane as
I'd
an
be like, dude,
episode.
you guys have a good fucking time.
Yeah,
I'll be
okay,
on
I
the
ain't
ground.
jumping out
I'll
of
be
the
like,
fucking
okay.
plane.
That's the whole thing. It's just like, yeah, I know it's different. It's not the same, but like static line hurts so fucking bad. Like, why would I even do it? No.
Yeah.
No.
Mark, ask him.
Mark's gonna ask you.
There we go. So in today's world where we see so much commonness, what does being uncommon mean to you?
Oh, y'all set this up. Y'all knew this was coming.
Yeah.
Well, bro,
So I've
it,
watched-
it comes
I've watched-
to it comes to every guest.
Really?
Every guest.
I don't know. I
Every
must,
guest.
I must turn off the video at that
We
point. I don't see that.
damn.
Dang.
Damn.
I get to the end.
Shots fired.
No, man.
like
I've watched
33
all.
minutes.
We don't ask a lot of them, but most all the pushing
I mean,
the line ones.
So watch this. You got 37 episodes prior to this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't tell me I don't watch. I watch.
Good.
37. So what does uncommon mean? That's a great question, man. I don't have a smart answer for that, so I'll just shoot from the hip. I think uncommon is the way I've always been in everything I do is don't be afraid to be yourself, right? Like you don't have to go with the norm, right? When everybody goes right, I go left. I'm okay being me. I'm okay teaching what I teach. I don't have to try to recreate some old wazoo thing to make it seem like you need to come with me. No, I'm gonna teach what I teach, and I'm okay in that skin. And that's me. There's no, what is Mike Pannone always says it. The magic is that there's no magic.
Yeah.
Right. Like there is none. And so my reply to that is, jealousy and envy hide behind compliments. So be careful who you take them from.
Damn.
Shirt time.
That was good.
You need a shirt with that motherfucker.
Damn.
Damn, that's good.
That's a good
That's
one-liner,
deep, bro.
man.
He goes. I'm just gonna shoot from the hip.
I'm gonna shoot for him.
Yo, man, that's a goosebumps walk.
Yeah, it is, man. I was like, damn, that's one of the best ones we've had so far.
Shoot from the hip.
No, dude, that's such. Dude, I couldn't agree more, man. I'm so sick and tired. I mean, I'm so sick and tired of people just not being true to themselves. And here's the deal, bro. I fought being true to myself for the longest fucking time. I think we all have at some point in our life.
Well, that you say some people haven't because some people really don't find themselves or they lose themselves.
Yeah.
And it's
Or they don't know their why.
Yeah, they
right?
don't know the why. They lose themselves, but when you get it back, it's just like, so say you do realize who you are, or you do get it back. Well, that's the whole point of it. You got to be true to it once you get it back, and yeah.
And and dude, and I'll be honest, man, it's a lonely road sometimes.
Yes.
Because my world is a lot smaller.
Yeah.
And I much rather have it that way, dude. To be honest, because like I rather people, you know, I mean, I identify true friends when it's my birthday. You know, they tell me happy birthday.
Shut the.
No, I'm kidding. No,
Damn.
no,
dude.
like
No,
I
don't
think
think I said it either. So don't feel bad. Don't worry.
no.
You know.
I didn't. I think you have one in July too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
2
Cool.
weeks ago.
Yeah, I just had mine last Monday.
Chris,
So happy
Chris
birthday,
called
bro.
me though. He did.
Chris,
I called him because I
Shit,
knew.
motherfucker.
I knew.
He literally sent me a message. He's like, "This is what you're gonna do. You're gonna pay full price for this fucking gun on your birthday." No, I think, dude,
Happy birthday.
I like keeping the circle small and like staying true to yourself is something we've completely lost.
Yeah.
I mean, just completely lost. So much so that it's like, close up shop, protect yourself from, those coming in that don't support who you are. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so. I mean, that's crazy, man. Like, so just I'm assuming that a lot of companies get requests to say, hey, we want to come work for you and we'll be gophers and we'll do all these things that you need to. Like, my company is small. My company is me, my son. He's the COO. Again, trying to give them some business, process and thinking for future. And then I have a media guy, which is the Daniel Accord, and that's
he's
it.
solid.
He's cool
good.
as hell.
He's cool.
I
Yeah.
love
That's it.
watching his videos.
Right? Like, so when we talk about curriculum and writing curriculum and all of this developing classes and stuff like that, right? Like, so many times students be like, hey, are you going to create an instructor class so we can come learn? And I'm like, bro, like, you got to have a level of your own before you come try to get to school. Like, understand it first. And so for me, I keep it small. Like, I don't try to add a bunch of people, right? Like, my curriculum is G14 classified. Like, Daniel hasn't even seen it yet, and we've been together for 4 years, right? But I know that he is more committed to Gladiator Guns than I am, and that's why I stay with him, right? But you get guys, man, that come in and they be like, yeah, I just wanted to come see what you teaching so I can take it back to my class. And I'm like, you just said that out loud?
Yeah,
That wasn't,
deuces,
you didn't
bro.
think that?
Deuces,
Hey, here's a refund, right? With 10% extra on top of that. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah,
Don't ever come
exactly.
back, right?
Yeah,
Like,
dude. Yeah.
And it's a process, man. And again, I keep going back to this one guy, good, bad, and different. I don't care whatever you feel about him, but the dude knows his shit. Will Petty is a freaking genius when it comes to developing curriculum. His whole process of understanding how to do it, why to do it, is something that I've taken, right? Like, identify the problem. Like, prime example, like, we had students in a class and they couldn't shoot single hand moving, doing different things with the firearm, moving different ways. Okay, so that's a problem. Like, if 90% of the class can't do it, that's a problem. So now I have to create something that addresses that problem. That's how you build curriculum. Like,
Yeah.
it's no
There's not enough of it,
Yeah.
and it's funny because the people that hate the petties and the people that hate the types of instructors of y'all, those are the people that are just taking stuff that secretly just go up and look up the curriculum and regurgitate what they're doing.
It's not only that, though, but they're so driven off of, like, I had this personal experience, so this is the way it needs to be done. And what people don't realize with, as far as Petty, like, you hit on the head of curriculum, is that he sat there. I just remember those days. We became friends in 2012, and I just remember him when he branched out, obviously doing his own stuff, where he had to watch all the videos. Tough to watch. He had to sit there and think, like, there's got to be a better way. Creating a curriculum and regurgitating curriculum. I'm gonna blame that.
He
one.
hasn't,
That one.
he hasn't drank that much.
But doing, they're two separate things, and that's where it's a whole different type of mindset.
Yeah,
and
pretty
that's
wonderful.
awesome. It's almost like
and there's
it's almost
somebody-
like a designer.
And there's so many people that are stuck in the old ways. Like, look, fighting around a vehicle. I mean, get behind your engine block and all that bullshit. Like, I mean, it takes people going, okay, like there's a better way to do this, right? And it's crazy that it's taking instructors, they go, look, here's why, right? It all goes back to what's the why, right?
100%.
Yeah. Anyways,
I don't know, man.
anything else in closing, Chris?
All I got to say is, give me a second. I was actually texting Calvin from OMG Tacos because he wants to say hi.
Great tacos.
Yeah, great tacos.
I actually took her there for the first time and blew her socks off.
Amazing.
Amazing.
Incredible.
But
God Almighty, I'm so hungry.
But just in what Will said, as far as as being uncommon, that's the whole thing. Is just he said, just be yourself, and it's hard because a lot of people get swept up into obviously what they're doing, how the industry is going, and what they need to do to change. But then again, though, being yourself is more valuable. So because you're sticking to your core values, everything. I think get lost. I mean, I've done it before and things like that. But you always come back.
I mean, we've all done it. But I think what separates the common from the uncommon is the fact that we go, oh shit.
Yeah, you can recognize and catch yourself, and regardless of what happens, if you do catch yourself, well, you have to stay true to the changes and not revert back. And I mean, that's the lesson I'm going through right now. And as our company grows, and we're going through this whole new phase, and people come and go in the whole new phase. There's always a change, and the thing about change is that it's happening, right? I know it's happening with Triarc, and everybody as far as around who's associated with us, it's going to happen with them, but it's kind of true because the people are slowly who are not gonna come with that change. They're gonna go out.
Yeah. And
new people are gonna come in, and that's just the way it goes. But those.
Well, the thing is, like, I think I don't want to put this offensively in any way, but a lot of times, like, change cuts dead weight. In areas where you identify that dead weight because you're going, okay, here's the needs of the company, right? Here's the needs of myself, right? Like, here's what I'm going to keep this circle small. And I think to me, that's a good thing. A lot of times, especially with the direction that y'all are going.
Yeah. It was
God,
crazy.
I can't wait. It's exciting.
Yeah. Well, people fear change. It's just like, but as we talk, you and I, Brad, as we talk in the sense of like new ideas and what we're going to do, that's changing itself of how we're going to do, new ventures into media, into podcasts and things like that. Well, it's going to happen. And people do fear. There's always people that fear the change. I've feared change too. Every time I've had big changes in my life, I've feared a little bit, but you have to embrace it. And that's where it comes to where, like, is it good or bad? Well, you don't know until you embrace it. Yeah. And that's like that one fine line where people tend to hang on because they don't know if it's good or bad. There's no sure bet. You're out there. You got to put yourself out there and take that risk all over again. And the adversity, take that risk all over again. Because I've taken so many damn risks, and here it is again. We got to take it again. But I'm on that precipice where I'm over the fear, and that's because associating myself with you guys and spending more time with you all, and even with Will, and as we keep building up, that eases the fear, and it reassures me to where we're all going to be great. We're all going to be good because we keep doing what we're doing. And
no matter what,
we keep doing what we're doing no matter what, and we look out for each other. And I think we're all going to be okay, and we're going to reach this new level of change where we're going to be better than what we are previously, and we can look back and say, well, every time we have some type of change, we're in a better position, not in a we're not falling back, we're pushing forward. Hashtag. But it is that, and like I said, for me, pushing forward is had a whole new redefined meaning, because it's not just about like win at all costs anymore. It's not about that anymore. At first, I had to be like that, but not anymore. It's more of everybody coming together, and we all move together, but we have to look at each other in that sense of, personally and professionally. Yeah. And that's a big learning lesson for me right now.
Cheers, everyone.
Oh wait,
Cheers.
hold up, man.
Oh gosh,
I've been sipping on this. You guys screw me over on these things.
While he's pouring, before he's cheersing. So Mark, hand me the gun. So the new centrifuge all sold out, right?
Yeah, they all sold out.
But you can still order?
No. So here's the thing with the order today. We are only going to sell when we have complete everything already in house, and kind of like a pre-order, to where we're not going to do back orders. We have all the kits, everything ready to go, in the sense of for coding, and then we're going to sell those select serial numbers, and then we'll do another drop again. But yeah, and you understand, like, this has been in making like 2 years. We've been talking about this gun. So finally, they've been in the order queue forever. Finally, they came up, and we're getting ready to go. These are 2 prototypes. We did some prototype guns. We did some direct mount acros, and hopefully when the P2s come in, we'll switch them out to the P2s. But Vulcan Machine Works did the acro cuts for the direct slide mount, and we're just going to beat these guns down. And because the first time we ever done direct mount to a slide. So that's where we need a little T&E. So if anybody wants to.
Yeah, I know a little bit about dogging guns out. Just saying.
Yeah, I'm just saying, you know, maybe you might.
I will gladly T&E whatever you want.
Today,
what do you want me to do?
Maybe tomorrow.
Right
wait, what?
Yeah. Sunday.
I'm going to give it to the tinker, you know?
Give it to the tinker. Yeah, it won't
I'll
come
take it
back
apart,
working.
man.
How come
I
this
will
thing
take
doesn't
it
have a
apart.
barrel?
Hey, man. Whatever, dude. I'm a curious guy.
Anyways,
No, but
all
hey,
right. So
all right.
we raise a glass to y'all.
So-
Will, thank you so much for coming on the
man,
show,
thank
man.
you.
It's
That was
an
awesome.
honor to have you here, bro.
Thanks y'all for having me.
Yeah,
man.
dude, for sure, man.
Mark.
Other
There you go.
So I need to, like, whenever anybody else's podcast I watch, you know, they always say make sure you plug your social media. So,
You're not even going to give me a chance to
My
give you
bad,
the
my
opportunity.
bad,
I'm
my
not
bad.
even done. I was thanking you.
okay. Well,
So
I thought you was
anyways.
hitting the credits. I
No,
don't know.
no. So I was
Damn.
going to say thank you, man. Thank you for coming on here.
No, seriously.
So where
It's
can
been a
people?
blast, man.
Where can people find you?
So you can find us at on Instagram. It's Gladiator_6, the word 6, and same thing on Facebook and on the internet. It's gladiatorgunstraininggroup.com. Check us out, man. Sign up for our website and our newsletter so you can get the heads up on classes. The next class we have is coming to San Antonio. It is RX Range Day. So I'm actually teaching, partnering with another company to teach. It is on September 20th, I think. I want to say it is. And it's an event. It's going to be pretty dope, man. 4 different instructors.
We'll be there.
Achilles Tactics
Cool.
is bringing it to Texas, and he reached out and said, hey, would I like to teach? So I'm teaching. A couple other guys are teaching. It's going to be a dope class, and it'll be at the Secure America Now facility in Seguin, Texas, September
awesome.
20th.
Oh, Sakine.
Yeah,
Nice.
so come on out. I think applications are, I think he's reviewing them now, so they might be complete. 60 shooters that come out with 4 different instructors.
I really think they need a podcast out there during that day.
I
Yeah,
think
that
we
would
went
be
to. Let's all
dope.
roll. Let's all.
Yeah.
Let's just
Let's
load it
just
up,
roll.
bro. Let's roll,
Let's
bro.
just own that day,
We'll be
bro.
down there,
Yeah.
bring a podcast in. Who gets if we're invited
Achilles
or
Tactics is
not?
going to be
Let's
like,
just
who
show up.
is this? Nah, bro, don't worry about it.
Don't
We're
worry.
Tell
with
him
them.
tell him you're with me.
Yeah, I was like, we're with Will.
Dang,
We're with
where's
Will.
I'm gonna use that excuse now. Every time you're in San Antonio, Will.
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
exactly.
No, man, this has been a blast. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, for
Again,
sure, man.
Thank you guys for having us out, right? Putting us on your platform. And then also, you know, thanks for Chris, right, for looking at our company and seeing that we had something of value that he can, you know, benefit with Triarc and mutually beneficial relationship for both of us. So we appreciate you guys.
I appreciate it. It's more than just value. It's growing together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
100%.
And we all need to work together, and that's the whole thing. Is,
Can we all kiss now?
Man, Jay-Z
so
and Def
just
Jam, bro.
make out.
JC
Make
and
out.
Def Jam, yeah.
That's it, man.
Yeah. I'm just the door guy. Let me hold the door for him.
I'll put that on a shirt.
Yeah.
Jay-Z and Def
I'm
Jam.
just the door guy. No, seriously, man. We will put his links and everything to his website on there. You'll see us repost. I mean, obviously, you've been seeing everything we've been reposting about him and everything. And
We're still gonna do that thing. Where we put the this whole thing on our YouTube channel.
yeah, so
We're gonna do that.
yeah. So with that being said, obviously, so actually this weekend we're going to be filming one of the ones. So
Oh yeah.
we're going to film an OZ9 build, the Uncommon Line OZ9 build, which I'm excited about, and kind of just have a podcast where we do the build and just
Yeah.
talk and let y'all kind of see how it is for them building a gun. And then the videos are going to be going on their YouTubes as well. So like and subscribe to our YouTube, like and subscribe to everybody's YouTube. Click like, subscribe, links, all of the jazz, do everything, hit the buttons,
All the links.
all the links, get it done. So we need more people on our YouTube following. So I see the views, people watching, but I'm just like, hit the subscriber like.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you watch it, just hit the like, it's a subscribe.
Man, we
button.
should do just like a giveaway where like you can't win this unless you go subscribe to Uncommon
down with
Line.
that.
Let's do it.
Let's,
we could do it with the first like because we're doing that OZ9 build. It's our first OZ9 model signature series. It's called Property Adjust series.
Oh, God.
It's a good series of OZ9.
I got in a
we're gonna
little bit of
release.
trouble for buying so many guns. By the way, I guess I didn't cancel the Tri 11 project.
Well,
So
we'll negotiate. that.
we'll talk about
We'll
that
negotiate
later.
that.
Anyways, so guys, make sure you check everybody out. Triarc Systems, Gladiator Gunz Training Group, the Uncommon Line. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Stay up to date. Here's the deal. With all the attacks that are happening on social media, on Instagram, we all been seeing what's going on. Obviously, you've been seeing us reshare everything with the sensitive content. We're all associated with gun companies. Please. Some of us are a little bit fortunate where we don't have this censorship happening on our on our pages. But if you do, go and click the whatever it is, the non-sensitive button to where you can see
real.
guns.
It's real.
Yes.
I didn't, usually that stuff comes through. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I went through it. Holy crap, it's real.
Yeah,
That's why
so
we shared it on our page.
We had 11,000 views on a post of, I forget what it was the other day, and I went down to 3 views on our FPC view from the podcast for the donation thing. 3 views, from 11,000 to 3 views. Only difference was one was guns, one was not. So I 100% believe, and this is after the whole censorship thing. With that being said, all 3 of our websites, all 3 of our things have newsletters and announcement things that you can go to.
Yeah.
Like and subscribe to those. Click and submit your emails to there, please, because if something happens to one of the pages, at least you have a way of what's staying up to date. So, anything else?
Oh, man. Thank you.
Remember, guys, stay safe, stay switched on, and stay on call.
After all, it's down to you and I. It's who we are.